What's up, y'all? I'm Will here with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast, one of the highest rated hospitality podcasts in the world, brought to you by us at Schedulefly. We provide a very simple web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service. If you're on pencil and paper or Excel, or you're on some software with tons of bells and whistles and features you don't need or use, Schedulefly is the perfect place for you. Easy to use, point, click, and go, and we'll take great care of you. Schedulefly.com, free trial, check it out. Also, this podcast is brought to you by our sponsors, Pop Menu and The Giving Kitchen and Kickfin, and you're going to hear about them in just a minute. First of all, let's talk about today's guest. Hey, what's up, y'all? This was a really cool opportunity with Blake Jennings, third generation family member of the family that started Biscuitville. Now, if you're not in the Carolinas, you may not have heard of Biscuitville. You will. They have about 80 locations now, but Blake's grandfather started this business. His father ran it. Now he's involved with the business. He does all their real estate, all kinds of stuff with the business. And they are like smart, 10% growth a year, measured growth, and started in Greensboro, North Carolina, and they just been kind of growing out in concentric circles from there. Just incredible family-run business, open every day from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m., and we talked a lot about that and how that helps with their culture. So, but, again, you may not have heard of Biscuitville yet. If you're not in the Southeast or not in the Carolinas, you will. They're just gonna keep growing, and you'll be hearing about Biscuitville and waiting for the Biscuitville to come to your city or town sooner or later. So Blake's a sharp young man, loves his family's business. I learned a lot talking to him, and I think y'all will too. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. More episodes coming soon. See ya. Give your team the gift of Pop Menu AI Answering, a simple solution for phones ringing off the hook. AI Answering handles calls 24/7, 365 days a year, so your staff can focus on in-person guests. Customize your greetings and responses, answer common questions, promote specials and events, and send follow-up links to ordering and reservations. AI Answering handles it all while escalating more complex conversations back to your team. Never miss another tasty revenue opportunity. Pop Menu, the marketing technology platform designed to make growing your restaurant easy. Discover more AI restaurant tools that turn your to-do list into an already done list by requesting a demo today. For a limited time, get $100 off your first month, plus lock in one unchanging monthly rate at popmenu.com. Go now to get $100 off your first month at popmenu.com. Be sure to tell them that Will from Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast and Schedulefly sent you. Y'all, this is a great business. I just told you what they like me to say. I will say that we have a lot of mutual customers at Schedulefly with Pop Menu. They all agree. Great product, great customer service, great results. Check them out, popmenu.com. This episode is also brought to you by The Giving Kitchen. Giving Kitchen provides emergency assistance for food service workers through financial support and a network of community resources. Since its inception in 2013, Giving Kitchen has served over 15,000 food service workers and awarded over $10.5 million to food service workers in crisis. If you or someone you know is a food service worker in crisis, please ask for help. thegivingkitchen.org, and again, that's thegivingkitchen.org. Y'all, this is a phenomenal organization. Jen, the founder, has been on this podcast. Jen Heidinger Kendrick, check out that episode to hear their full story. But if you know somebody or you need help, go to thegivingkitchen.org. Incredible organization, and very responsive, and has a wonderful mission. Check them out. All right. Well, y'all, this is a cool episode today. Second one in the studio today. And I'm going to let Blake introduce himself. We just got connected very recently through a mutual friend. And this is a multi-generation family business story that is freaking awesome. And if you're anywhere in the Carolinas or the Southeast, you've heard of Biscuitville for sure. So that's what we're going to get into today. So Blake, just introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Blake Jennings, born and raised in Greensboro, North Carolina. Worked in Biscuitville family business throughout growing up. Have a wife, 2 kids, one more coming in a month and a couple days from now. So really busy both in the personal life and at work. Started my career in commercial real estate, really for a publicly traded REIT in DC. Really helped them sell a portfolio of properties. Then worked for a group called Kane Realty, building high-rise office and big mixed-use developments in Raleigh. And then Biscuitville's a brand that's been family-owned for quite some time. And they went through a period from, let's call it '07 to about 6 or 7 years ago of no growth and restructuring the business. And my father reached out, who's now board chair, decided he wanted to start growing the business. And when I joined, we had about 52 restaurants. And today we have 81. And I just hit my 6-year anniversary. So we're really busy at work, build about 7 to 8 a year right now, growing throughout the Southeast.
Boy, there's a lot to unpack here, man. Like, oh, that's okay. So, well, let's first of all, congrats to your family on building such a iconic brand and an incredible business that's been around for how long now? When your grandfather started?
1967, I believe, was the first one.
Okay.
And they started at Pizzavilles.
Okay.
So he had a bakery back then, and he's always been an entrepreneur, had so many different businesses, and built that up to, let's call it 5 to 8 Pizzavilles is what they were called. And he wanted to kind of grow the morning traffic. So he started selling biscuits in the morning. And then in 1975 is when we converted the first unit to a Biscuitville. And he eventually converted all the Pizzavilles over to Biscuitvilles, and it's just grown since then.
How did it all start? What was the origin of him starting in the hospitality business?
Yeah, I mean, so his family had been in the flour business for a long time. So that's baking flour. So him and his brother ran a flour brokerage shop where they sold flour by the barge load, which is, I think, 5 to 8 train cars at a time.
Oh, wow.
And my grandfather exited that business and got into restaurants, and he was always into hospitality. So he had one called Spaghetti Bowl, the Cutting Board, Pizzaville's the one that stuck, and actually had some legs behind it.
Okay.
So then, once he kind of started converting, he personally grew it himself. And then my dad joined the business in the 80s. And I think when my dad came into the business, there were roughly 25 to 30 restaurants. He grew it as president and CEO up to about 53 to where it was. And then, he's now in his 60s, and he decided to bring an outside of the family president and CEO to come run the company. And I came in kind of as the growth and development guy. So I manage all the company's capital, or growth capital. I select all new sites, oversee our facilities team, and have a great team that kind of support me due to that.
So, okay. What were the years you said where there was no growth, where you're restructuring?
Yeah, so we tried to grow a good bit right in that kind of 06, 08 area. And that big growth push was down towards the Charlotte market. So Mooresville, Indian Trail. We did one in Wilkesboro. I did one in Rocky Mount, Eastern. And really the issue wasn't necessarily site selection. It was just that we as an organization weren't ready to grow outside of our core market, which had been, let's just call it Virginia, Greensboro, Burlington, and Raleigh. We were very centralized in how we operated, and we just weren't built out to start stepping outside of, let's just call it about an hour and a half drive.
Okay.
So really, even when I joined the company in 2018, I think is when it was, we still weren't structured in a way to grow to where we are now. So we had to do a lot of things, such as we moved our distribution facility. We went from 28,000 square feet to 75,000 square feet. We decentralized our technician team, and that takes care of our restaurants. So now they're in the field and live near the restaurants. And then a big thing was we really decentralized how we operate those restaurants. So having like area coaches and those in the field that really run those restaurants. And those are all things we didn't have when we tried the first time.
Okay.
And now that we're kind of on that second try of growth, we're really seeing a lot of success.
So, okay. If this audience is from all over the U.S., all over the world, primarily U.S., but I mean all over the place. And so 90% of them probably don't know what Biscuitville is. So tell us what Biscuitville is.
Yeah, so we pride ourselves on being family owned. Right now, I mentioned 81 restaurants. So I'd say our direct competitors are like a Bojangles, which is a breakfast sandwich, McDonald's morning traffic, and like Chick-fil-A. We are Fresh Southern. We source every ingredient direct from. We don't have a distribution partner. We source everything direct from other family-owned businesses. We supply all of our stores with their own distribution facility, and we're only open from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Okay.
Our biggest differentiator is that we cook everything from scratch in the restaurants.
Okay.
And then we're very high volume. So our focus, because right now we get our entire, let's just call it sales throughout the week during one day part.
Yeah.
McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, they have 2, sometimes 3 day parts to get their sales volume in.
Right.
And right now, we compete right there with on a sales volume perspective of the Wendy's, and not quite where McDonald's is, but we're actually, I think, right at where Bojangles' average unit volume is. So we're able to do that all within one day part. And then a competitive advantage that we have on the hiring side is that we only operate from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we have what it's called as a life after 2. So when you look at staffing our restaurants, managers and crew members, assistant managers, they get to go home at 2 o'clock and be with their families, their friends, and they work in a very healthy, stable environment, just that we're family owned and we don't have a big corporate, larger shareholder group overseeing the company.
Yeah, that's interesting, the 2 p.m. thing, and that's, you clearly have made that an important part of your ethos. I always look at like I've always admired Chick-fil-A. They don't open on Sunday or whatever, and they've just stuck with it. And it just, having something you stick with and sort of draw the line in the sand is an important thing. So with you, with 2 p.m., it's like you probably get more business because of that than if you went, hey, why don't we add another day part? And then you're kind of like everybody else, and then you don't have that advantage of working there, and then everything could kind of just, you kind of blur in with like, well, how's this any different than, Bojangles or whatever else?
Yeah, and for us, it's like, why fix something that's not broken?
Yes.
We even attempted to add a lunch menu in 06, 07, and it did well, but it was very hard to execute on. So from an execution perspective, we couldn't give as good of a product to the group because we were mixing in, fried catfish sandwiches and fried okra and and barbecue into an already complex menu.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the simplest menu, but we have it structured in a way that we can get our product out the door quickly. But it just wasn't well received both by the guest and by us because we're Biscuitville. So we focus on what we do best. And I really don't see 2 p.m. going away.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Biscuitville, and I'm eating a fried catfish sandwich. This is like a little bit of cognitive dissonance or whatever.
Yep.
So you took I love that y'all got to a point, and of course then you have the financial crisis, and then you go, okay, we're outside of our geographic footprint that we know we can execute on. Let's figure this out. Let growth just chill for a little while. Get this primed up and propped up and set to then now grow. And since you've been there, y'all been adding, you said like seven or 8 stores a year?
Yeah, so our target's 10% growth. We obviously had to ramp up there because another thing that we try to do is try to own the land, the building, and the site. So that's also a differentiator from us. Makes it a little bit more challenging to find locations because our competition, like Chick-fil-A and Starbucks and even like the Popeyes and a lot of franchises, they use third-party developers. So we develop in-house. But we've ramped from basically 5% growth at the very beginning to 10. We've done that originally by growing out our existing markets because that's where the customers know us. Yeah. And that's where, when opening a restaurant close to where you already are, people know you. You have much more comfort, the sales volume's there, and all of our infrastructure is already in place. So, yes, we did spend 2 to 3 years. I think we invested over $30 million of capital in the business, physical capital and a lot of systems and processes that gave us the ability to truly start jumping really what I call more than a 2-hour drive away.
Mm-hmm.
And with us having now 81 restaurants, we are so built out in Greensboro, Winston, Burlington, even the outside parts of Raleigh, that the growth opportunities is going farther out. But we are the Southeast brand. So that focus right now for the next 3 to 5 years is really Eastern North Carolina, the Charlotte DMA. Core Charlotte's tough for us to afford.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, you kind of do you mainly focus on smaller, or like outer lying towns?
Yeah, I'd say for us it's what we can afford because we don't quite have that average unit volume of a McDonald's or even say a Cookout or a Chick-fil-A, which that gives them the ability to afford, to pay more for their sites. We do love cities. Like our biggest focus right now as a DMA is probably Greenville, Spartanburg.
Okay.
Which is just so similar to Greensboro and Winston-Salem because you got Greer and Duncan between them. Greensboro, Winston has Kernersville. So we try to mimic our growth plan against where we have success, which is a combination of growing markets, but we also do some small towns in between. But it's got to be a growing, smaller town for us to consider it.
Yeah, Greenville, Spartanburg. Are you there, or are you still looking for land?
No, we've got 2 open. I've got 3 more coming right now.
Okay.
I've got 1 under construction, 2 more sites coming. But, that market alone could be built out like Greensboro and Winston and have, 12, 15 stores in it long term.
Growth down there is incredible.
It is. It's
Greenville was like a secret for a while, and like that, the cat's out of the bag. There's so many people moving to Greenville.
That's a great place to take the wife for the weekend.
It is literally. I just told somebody this the other day. It's one of my favorite cities. Period. Not like one of my favorite cities in South Carolina. Like, it's just one of my favorite cities. It's fun. It's vibrant. Tons of energy. Tons of great restaurants. Music. Like, it's just in the river. It's like very well done.
Yep.
Spartanburg's probably like, that's sort of like the next, like, that'll probably happen there eventually.
Yep. Yeah, it's very similar to Winston-Salem and Greensboro, and I live in Greensboro, but if you look at what Greenville's done to their downtown and really getting the new hotels and the growth, Spartanburg's starting to get it. Winston-Salem's the same story as Greenville. They did a great job with the Innovation Corridor. They also have Wake Forest University pushing into it. And Greensboro's got aviation, but, they're just now starting to see a good clip of growth in Greensboro, too.
Yeah, yeah. And then, so Eastern North Carolina, like when you go to these, what's the ideal site for y'all? Like, how do you find the right, especially doing it all in-house? Like, how do you identify a town that you're not in and go, okay, we probably want to be there, and then how do you find, where the perfect place to be is?
Yeah, the biggest thing I look at to start is really how our competition does. So you can buy, let's call it just statistically relevant sales data off of our competition.
Okay.
I go through and obviously have mapped out where we are, and then I map out where all the competition is, and then I start nitpicking where competition is performing really well, where they have stores above an average unit or below an average unit.
Okay.
I map that out in both cities, but also towns. And then right then I can basically if you think about just taking a map and putting dots on it, green, yellow, red.
Yeah.
Same with trade areas. And the main thing is I try to be right next to Bojangles, McDonald's, Cookout. Even though I don't compete with them, they have a very similar growth story.
Yeah.
But I try to be right next to the competition that does really well.
Yeah.
And then, our traditional site's no different than any QSR. It's basically an acre with good access, satellite if you can get it. But then once I identify where we are, I try to figure out who the best, good old broker is in town, if it's a smaller town, or who has successfully helped other brands grow. And I utilize brokers to really bring sites to me.
Okay.
I do not have a single broker that covers all of our territories.
Yeah.
We currently have about 4 total.
Okay.
So once they identify sites is kind of when I dig in, go check them out, and then we do all the due diligence, construction, turnover. We don't even sell the real estate. We hold it long term.
What percentage of the sites that you look at do y'all decide to choose? I mean, I have no clue. Is it 25% or 75%?
The real estate markets are so challenging. I mean, think about trying to buy a house in Charlotte right now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm challenged with and growing us. I'd say for every 10 deals I look at, one of them might be a great fit. And then of those, once you get whittled down to 10 to 1 so many times, now I got a pool of another 10 in front of me. It's like a 20% hit rate.
Okay.
So it's challenging, especially because we do very seldomly we'll do build to suits and ground leases, but that's what our competition does, and that's what a lot of landowners want these days.
Okay. But y'all own all of your real estate.
We own about 80% of our real estate.
80% of your real estate. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And then I'm wondering, like, you're starting to see, okay, so you mentioned your Chick-fil-A, your Bojangles or whatever. And I would imagine all of you are in this same space of, it's a different concept, but you're starting to see a lot of these like biscuit, like Flying Biscuit or Vicious Biscuit. I mean,
Biscuit King,
God,
Sunrise
the
Biscuit
like
Kitchen,
there's a lot of biscuit places, and I know some will come and go or whatever, but are you just serving different audiences? Is that eating into what y'all do as well, or blurring the lines between what y'all do? I mean, they're more sit down type places, but
They are, but there's been a lot of new entries. We strive just to do what we do and do it best. And we like to joke that they want to get into it because they see, our success story and want to have a piece of it. But for where we operate, when you have the family owned history behind it, that's a hard one that can't be beat.
yeah.
And, we feel that being family owned and controlling about every aspect of the business, we can execute better. And that's we feel our competitive advantages are. So when you go dine at a Biscuitville, you notice a significant difference as compared to dining with a big corporate store.
What do you tell me about it? Like, what do you notice when you go into a Biscuitville? Is it clear that it's family owned? Do y'all?
Oh yeah, we advertise it.
Yeah.
One of our biggest things that we do that other brands, some do it in some capacity, but not others, is we have uncapped profit share for our operators.
Oh, nice.
So even though they don't actually own the location, if they hit certain metrics such as like employee satisfaction, speed of service, taste of food, other targets that we have there, they get an uncapped percentage of the profits.
Okay.
But what that does is it makes them treat it as their own business.
Yeah.
And it just gives us a quality of employee that's managing business, but then our crew members, they really get engulfed in our culture that we put into the stores. And, you get great words like, honey, how you doing? Obviously they're trying to be fast, but it's just, we do have a different feel in our restaurants of the kind of employees that are serving you compared to other competition.
All right, y'all. It is time for a little mid-episode break. We're going to talk about Kickfin. Thousands of restaurants, bars, and breweries use Kickfin to tip out their employees instantly. No cash required. With Kickfin, tips go directly to your employees' bank of choice the second their shift ends. It's a really simple solution to a really big problem because if you're still paying out credit card tips in cash, it's costing you. Time-consuming bank runs and cash counting take managers away from work that matters. Cash is hard to track, which leads to accounting headaches, and it creates the perfect opportunity for theft, human error, and compliance issues. Bottom line, there's never been an instant secure way to pay out tips until Kickfin. It's an easy-to-use software that sends real-time, cashless tip payouts straight to your employees' bank accounts, 24/7, 365. Kickfin gives managers hours back in their day, makes reporting a breeze, and protects your business from risk. Most importantly, employees love it. Restaurants can have Kickfin up and running overnight. Employees can enroll in seconds. No hardware, no contracts, no setup fees. Visit kickfin.com for a personalized demo. See how restaurants across the country are digitizing tips with Kickfin. All right, that's what they asked me to say, so I say it, and it tells the story very well, but I like to add this in. We referred a customer that we know and love very well, Sup Dogs, to Kickfin. Sup Dogs has been a customer for a super long time. Trust them very much with their opinion on these types of tools. They started using Kickfin. I asked Brett, the owner, recently how it's going. He said, Kickfin is perfect. It's going great. Exactly what we were hoping for. So there you go. Kickfin.com, y'all. Check them out. Has it been, and I think I know the answer, I'm going to guess because of what you just told me and the culture y'all have and your emphasis on that, but has it been harder to get people to be a part of your team over the last few years than it has been in the past?
Definitely over the past few years, I think we've seen our numbers of retainment of employees get back to where we want them, which is we're still number one, if not number two, in the entire Southeast on let's just say the turnover number that we track. It's better now with that life after two and our work hours. It's been really, really attractive to a lot of people. It's still challenging. I mean, it's the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
Operating stores, I tell people all the time, I can build as many Biscuitvilles, as I can possibly find. But the real question is, can you operate them well? Can you get the right people in there?
Yeah.
And I will say that that's actually more challenging than building the restaurants.
Yeah.
Because I always say I could build a restaurant if I could find the right site anywhere in the country. Can I operate it anywhere in the country? And under our current business model today, the answer is no. But when you look at where this brand could be in 10 years, it will be a different answer at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, it is such a fascinating thing that's happening in the hospitality world, and like where there's just billions and billions of dollars in tech investments that come in, AI. I mean, I kind of feel like, I'm curious because you're right in the middle of this, but like, I kind of almost feel like it's like in 10 years, will McDonald's be on one end of the, like, let's call this a barbell, like one end over here with like one person in a McDonald's operating the machines and like fixing them when they break, but like the burgers are flipped by a robot, and like there's like no real personal touch. And then meanwhile, you've got you'll never lose the, local mom and pop family owned restaurant, full service, whatever. But like, it just seems like there's this bifurcation happening where if you need to operate at a huge volume in a, quick service kind of space, fast food area, it's just harder and harder to get good people these days, and you have to pay them more. And depending on, like certain states, and that stuff tends to trickle down. And but I think about that not knowing what I'm talking about, but I just think about, okay, where is this all probably going? I can't see. And the reason I ask you this, I think you're in a fascinating, piece of this, is that Chick-fil-A might be too, like, where your people are a huge part of your asset. You've got a culture where it makes people feel good to be treated the way y'all treat people. But frankly, like when I go into McDonald's, if I do, I don't expect that. So if there's a robot flipping the burgers, okay. Like if I'm pushing the screen to order my food and there's like not really an interaction, that's okay. Like that's fine. There's maybe a place for that. And if you're them, you probably have to go in that direction. It's a long way to ask, like, what do you think about that? And where do you think about where you are going with the mix of people and tech and AI in the next 10 years?
Yeah. I mean, right now, we have an open kitchen. So when you come into our restaurants, you see all the people. We want that because we want people to see your food getting cooked and fresh.
Good.
So we're committed to people and continuing what we're doing. This industry is ever changing.
Yeah.
And the labor challenges may get to the point where we have to look at some other options, AI, automatic fryers, those kind of things. The biggest thing is we don't know where it's going, but what we do as a brand is we change certain things fast when we need to. We don't evolve our business model as fast as we see other brands doing it. And really what we try to do is let them create the new wheel and prove it's successful, and then we roll it out.
Mm-hmm.
A great example of that would be when our throughput was getting so busy that our cars were backing out the road. You saw Chick-fil-A come out with the double drive-through model.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we started rolling that out after they figured it out. On top of that, you saw Chick-fil-A start bringing out the tablets outside, and other brands started doing it, and then they got that technology down pat. So what we do, we found a POS system that had been tried and true, got that in-house, and then we rolled out tablets outside. The kiosks, that was something we saw McDonald's do. And you see that, you go into McDonald's, some people are still frustrated with it. I've even seen McDonald's where they took them out. We're letting them figure that out, see how that works, how customers perceive it in another brand, and then we may consider it for us.
Yeah.
And then, as you just look farther out, another thing that we're looking at now, it's not rolled out yet, but we are working on it, which is mobile order, mobile pickup, which then rolls into delivery. Other brands have figured it out. So now we're choosing the right strategic partner to help us do the same thing, hoping to get that rolled out in the next, let's just call it 6 to 12 months in a few test restaurants. And now that delivery is now profitable for restaurants, that may be in our future too.
Yeah.
But all those things were and initiatives were figured out by someone else first.
Yeah.
So we always say they created the wheel. We just try to take that wheel and make it better. So I don't have a crystal ball on what the labor markets and how restaurants will operate. But, we'll be ready to react to change when we see others do it. The biggest thing right now in the industry is just how expensive it is to open up a new restaurant.
Yeah.
Each new restaurant for us is over a $2 million, sometimes $3 million investment to get it done. Now that includes the building and the site. And you back that out, then you're looking at, let's just call it $1 million or just a little less. You see what's happening with ghost kitchens and deliveries.
Yeah.
Does the entire drive-through model change as you get potential, automated cars and work from home? Does that stick around or even expand? And does our business model of how we get product to the guest have to change?
Yeah.
We don't know the answers yet, but, we're watching what everyone else is doing and how our guests are reacting.
See, this is what's so cool about y'all being family owned is that you can be patient and let others trip and make investments that don't work out and create the wheel. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Harder to do probably when you got a bunch of investors like grow, get it done. And that's a good position to be in, man. That's really cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of, advantages of our ownership structure. I mean, it's owned by my dad's side of the family. They really trust this management team to do what they need to do, but they also really put the capital behind it. I mean, things such as we have our 75,000 square foot distribution facility that could handle 250, 300 stores. We're able to capitalize on certain things like pork prices drop suddenly or someone needs to get rid of some product. We'll buy 6 months of product as long as it's non-perishable.
Yeah.
If you have outside capital, they're not going to let you tie up capital and do that. And
no way.
We've been able to drop our food cost a point or two just by having that facility that we would have never expected in this kind of, crazy commodity times where it's just swinging. So
that's awesome. So you're going at, so 10% a year. So that means you're adding a little bit more total locations a year.
8 to 9 a year right now.
Yeah. Okay. 8 to 9 a year. So you're opening like one every other month or no, almost every month, like month and a half.
Yeah. And, we've opened.
Do you stagger them or is it just based on like just when you got the land and when it?
We stagger them by region.
Okay.
So we're split by an east and west region.
Okay.
However, we've opened our first two in Greenville, Spartanburg, we opened the same day.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you've seen the news with like In-N-Out opening a store in Denver or something, their lines were hours long.
Yeah.
We opened a unit in Greenville, North Carolina, and it was so busy, we didn't feel our guests got a great experience right out of the gate. So we decided in Greenville, Spartanburg, just open both of them the same day. They're in a little bit separate markets, but it just takes the overall rush away. We open. We try to get most of them open with about a 2 to 3 week gap at the beginning of the year, starting in January, just because the Thanksgiving, Christmas time is hard. It's really busy in our restaurants, but it's also hard to staff a restaurant towards the end of the year right there.
Yeah.
So we try to focus on getting those 8 or 9 open then.
What you mentioned the point of sale you got. What do y'all use?
CBS North Star. So
okay, gotcha.
That's one we went to. So obviously it's a custom business solution.
Yeah.
I believe they're with Norwegian Cruise Lines, a couple other smaller units. We are the first kind of QSR multi-unit that is utilizing their full system with the mobile tablets outdoors.
Okay.
However, we needed a somewhat custom product for ourselves. Because you look at someone like Chick-fil-A, they do all that in-house. But we found them to be a great team. They're hands-on, it's very custom to us, which is great. And it utilizes technology such as iPads, which are very replaceable at an economic cost to us.
Yeah.
Compared to some of these other systems, an outside tablet could cost 3 to 4 times as much as what ours do.
Do you know a lot of folks at are there other brands that you study, admire? You have friends or peers that work there that you collaborate with, or do you guys kind of keep your heads down and just do your thing?
Yeah, I mean, I keep really close with. I've got obviously a lot of friends in the industry now. Some of them are at large companies. Another success story around us is Cookout. They're based out of Thomasville, North Carolina.
Are they from Thomasville?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another family-owned brand. Stay very close with a guy named Jeremy who runs that place. And the great thing with him, he's somewhat, really helped me out because I'm growing into markets he's grown into. So he's over 300 restaurants now, started in the same area. And because I don't compete with him and he's already operating where we're going, I'm able to really kind of ping sites off him, lessons learned, especially when it comes to staffing, hiring, where the troubled spots are. So he's been a great resource to me. And then obviously we have the National Restaurant Association, which we're heavily involved with. A lot of contacts in there that really help us make decisions across the entire business.
Are you going up to the Chicago show?
I won't be up there for that one.
Okay. I haven't been, and we had a booth in 2009, and we've not been to a single trade show since. But I'm going to go up there this year. I got a buddy who, longtime customer, he speaks at that every year. So I'm going to go watch him speak, and he's trying to help me get on the speaking circuit. So I don't know. We'll see. But that's a huge freaking show.
Yeah. And I speak at a couple of those conferences too. Another family I meant to mention is the Golden Corral family.
Okay.
So that's also family owned. However, they have Lance Trineri, who's been running that brand for a long time as a non-family member.
Okay.
And we stay really close with them. They're out of Raleigh.
They're out of Raleigh? Okay. All right. Okay, good deal. So this is I love your story. I love the deliberate, really careful growth. I mean, there's so many of these brands, and you're seeing it right now. I won't name names, but I mean, there's some they're growing too fast. There's going to be problems. I'm already hearing of some that have grown like crazy in the last few years, and they're newer brands, and they're already like, wait a minute, this is probably, it's enticing, but the patient, slow, deliberate pace your family has grown this with is so admirable and wise, man. There's a lot of wisdom coming out of you, man. I can tell it started with your granddad, and it's just flowed through your family and the way y'all run this. So I have a ton of respect for that. Do you see 8, 10, 12 stores a year indefinitely, or what's the long game?
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like 10%'s right.
Okay.
For us at this stage, just when it comes to the organization and what it takes to grow past that, not even to mention the capital. I mean, the capital is a whole nother discussion to grow at those kind of rates. But 10% just feels right because you're operating so many restaurants and you got to run those too.
Yeah.
And you got, you don't expect to have turnover on the manager side, but it happens.
Yeah.
And you layer in building 8, 10, 12 a year as you continue to grow at 10%. It's really challenging for any organization to get above 10.
Yeah.
And you're right. There's brands that have grown like crazy. You got Shake Shack, you got Kava that just went public, getting 30, 40 times multiple on their company. They've got, a lot of those heavy growing brands have headwinds in front of them right now.
Yep.
Capital markets are tight, staffing's tight. And it's very difficult above that 10%. And I look at the brands that have found success, such as a Cookout. They were tried and true to 10% the whole way up. And 10% over the course of 10, 12 years, I mean, it adds up.
Well, I mean, 10%. If it's 10%, not 10 locations, then 10% starts to compound. I mean, when
That's
you're,
it.
yeah. So when you're at 100 locations, you're adding 10. When you're 200, you're adding 20, and that stuff starts to compound fast. So, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm very curious. The next couple years, with the cost of capital now, and yeah, I mean that's no joke, man. You guys you manage your capital very well, clearly. If you're able to do that as a family-owned business, for sure. So well done. It's I, s- I mentioned things like McDonald's and robots and all that because I mean some of your competitors, direct or sort of indirect or whatever, like I don't really go to a lot of places, except when we're on the road. I mean, I just took my son to a father-son weekend up in Boone this weekend, and we stopped at one of those places, and it's just horrible. Like, people didn't care. They were understaffed. It took forever. The whole experience just sucked. Like, it just was. It's just, and you're like, wait a minute. And now with what things cost, you're like, I just spent $18 for my son and I to get like a combo or whatever it was, and it took 20 minutes, and the bathroom's nasty, and the people were not real nice. Like, that just isn't going to work. Like, that's not sustainable
Yep.
in those conditions. So so I'm like, if I'm owning one of those, I'm like, I got to get technology in here because like we just can't. What I love about what y'all are doing, and businesses that understand the value of culture, and we talk about culture a lot on here. It's like, man, if you treat people well and you have a good, clear, established set of values in your business and you train that well and you bring in people that are bought into that and you give them opportunities to grow and you really lean into your culture, then you reduce your turnover. And like for y'all in the 2:00, like you get people that are bought in and they stick with you longer. Everything just takes care of itself in so many ways, right? Like you take great care of those people,
Absolutely
and then
right.
like that just filters out. The guests get well taken care of, and it's not because you're demanding that people do it. It's because they want to do it because they like being there. I mean, if you like going where you go every day, then things tend to work out for the customer and everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, we're not. We have issues.
Everybody does. I
Everyone
got you.
does.
Everybody does.
To be
Yeah,
clear,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
mean,
No doubt about it.
no, to be blunt, I went to one of our new restaurants that we just opened and built, and we have challenged to put that culture into that restaurant, and it's farther away. I think that is the sweet spot of keeping that culture as you continue to grow. If we can't maintain the culture and our operational excellence as we grow into these new markets, and then we really don't have the opportunity to build new restaurants because the
Yeah.
guests won't stay with us.
Yeah.
And at that 10% rate, it gives you the ability to fix where you have issues when you're growing and make sure your core restaurants are still doing really well.
Do you go into these do you go in low key, like they don't know who you are, go in, or
It depends.
Okay.
If I'm trying to check out what's going on because I've heard that maybe things are going a little sideways, no, I walk in plain clothed. But I do talk with the managers and give them feedback and see where I can help them and what we can do as an organization to fix any challenges that I see when I'm there. But we really have a great team out there. But when I'm traveling around with other employees, we walk straight in the door. We don't kind of blind shop it. We kind of introduce, see what's going on. We try to get as many kind of, I hate to use the word corporate, we call it the restaurant support center. We try to get some of our employees that really support these restaurants in the restaurants as much as we can, just so they understand the business, the kind of people that are actually, taking cash from customers,
Yeah.
and putting them into the registers, because none of us would have jobs if it weren't for these employees on the front lines.
Yep. Yep.
And you can't ever lose sight of that. And one of the big things we do, every new employee that starts with us goes into the restaurants for about a week,
Okay.
and they have to go work every shift. So they'll make biscuits, they'll clean out a fryer, they'll work the grill line, they'll run the register, you name it, they do it. So that when they hear of challenges in a restaurant with what's going on, they fully understand the business from the inside out.
So smart.
And It's really helped the field have a level of respect for the team that supports them, but also the team that supports them have a level of respect for the field, which is just so important.
And empathy and really understanding, like, oh, it seems like that shouldn't be a big deal. Well, if you've done it, you understand why it's a big deal.
That's right.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So so we got connected, you and I, through a mutual friend, Rob Huber. And you were, when I talked to you, I think you were going to the Masters maybe the first time or something, but you play some golf.
I do.
A lot of business golf or just
it's a combination
pleasure,
of both.
But yeah.
You know, challenges. I've got 2 young kids and one on the way. So, you know, we are fortunate at Bisco that if things are going well in the afternoons on Fridays, our office is closed. So that's usually my day.
Gotcha.
But I do in the real estate world. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I've made many deals on a golf course with people I've been trying to cut a deal with for some time. So, you know, outside of spending time with my family, golf is one of those things that I just love being out there.
Did you grow up playing?
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
4.5 and 2. Girl 4.5, the boy's 2, and then we have another boy coming in a month. So, you know, with all this stuff going on at work and growing, and real estate and construction doesn't stop because I have a kid, so it's challenging, but we get through it. It's a
balance, man. It's a balance.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Enjoy it while you just enjoy it while you can, man. I mean, my kids are 20, 17, and 14. And I mean, I remember very well when they were 4.5, 2, and just born. And like, it's freaking, especially now, because you're like a hero for a while. Like, you know, both of you and your wife, but you know, dad's like hero status. And then they get to be a teenager. And you're like my kids, I was out of town last week and I was telling somebody, I was like, I don't even know if my boys know I'm out of town right now. Like, they don't even care. Like, you know, they're in that age, and then they come back around. My daughter's a sophomore in college, and she's just finished. She's coming home tomorrow, and you know, she's back into like, okay, I got through those weird teenage years, and now like I realize what I was like, and I think my parents are amazing. So you know,
yeah,
they'll go away, you know, do their thing, and then they come back. Man, this has been fun, dude. I really appreciate you taking the time to come over here, have this conversation. I think you've got a great business. I thought that before you came in here, and what I learned today, I mean, just congrats to your family and your whole team there for just building I mean, I know you are all very, very proud of this business, as you should be. And from what your grandfather started there with Pizzaville to where you are today and where you are going, man, like, it's freaking awesome. And, that's just, what a great thing. I mean, you get to wake up every day and you're doing something that has this rich history and legacy, and you're now a third generation of adding to that, and it's something you clearly enjoy. I can tell just talking to you. You know, you love the business, so that's a lucky thing, man. And I just appreciate the chance to sit here and rap with you about it.
Yeah, well, appreciate you having me on. You know, it's a business that, you know, it's in our blood. We plan to keep it that way.
We will get we'll get you these. Do y'all do a lot of social media? I didn't even.
Oh yeah, we do some.
Okay.
So yeah, absolutely, share it to us.
Yeah, we'll get you like the file, like the audio file, the video file. We'll post it, of course, but like some people will take, you know, clips or whatever and put it on social media and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get you all this stuff. And yeah, man, let's stay in touch. I appreciate it very much.
Awesome.
Maybe we'll get to play some golf sometime.
Yeah, we'll get Rob in town.
Yeah, let's do that. All right, man. That is a wrap. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. More episodes coming soon. See ya. Hey, y'all, before you dial out, just a quick request. If you are listening to this podcast on iTunes, if you would give us a star rating and a comment, it would be so helpful. If you're on Spotify, if you'd follow us or whatever platform you're on, if there's a rating or a follow, please do that. What that does is it tells these algorithms to put this content in front of more people that are looking for this type of content. So if you enjoy the episode, please do that. Thank you so much for listening to Restaurant Owners Uncorked or watching on YouTube. We appreciate you. We're proud to be able to do this, and we're just going to keep putting out great content, y'all. So stay tuned. Thank you.